I changed my industry to finance after 12 years in business development. That only happened because of US CMA. So
And I think for me, the highlight of today's discussion is that you've done your CMA, right? Now, this whole conversation is structured or is planned for the CMA students in India.
So
Yeah.
in order to, get my resume shortlisted, I need to get a global qualification. So that's when
Correct.
I started exploring in the market. There are two parts, so it covers 12 core competencies in total. And
Mhm.
each core competency that you learn, it could be forecasting, budgeting, internal controls, ethics, then decision making, investment decisions, risk management, so on and so forth. Batted in the ground in the net
Correct.
for hours and hours. So when the actual match happens and you're
Uh,
trying to hit the ball,
Correct.
it's nothing new for you.
The way the curriculum and the exam is structured, it's a real life situation,
Yeah,
and it's the
absolutely.
real life. I think that experiential learning is what these qualifications teach you with, right? Okay.
Yes. So my role was always very crucial, and CFO knew me by name. Not many, CFOs
Correct.
know the big finance team that they have by their name. Yeah.
That's why there's this line, right, where they say it's CMA is one of those qualifications that teaches you the why behind the numbers and not
Yes,
what.
absolutely. You would not be seen somebody as just an employee, but you
Uh,
are part of the company growth strategy, and
uh,
all the insights and research and analysis that you do, that
uh.
is very valuable to the organization.
So I'm very happy to be in conversation with my dear friend Ronak Baheti. And let me very quickly introduce him. So Ronak is a certified management accountant with more than 16 years of versatile experience across so many facets of business, whether it's building business development, finance, marketing, sales, and having experience across various industries, whether it's manufacturing, IT, finance, consulting, or education across the various roles that Ronak has had. He's done a lot of work around budgeting, forecasting, managing and working with various stakeholders in business, and of course fostering business growth. Currently, Ronak is the business relationship director at Hock International, where his role involves working with a host of stakeholders. So whether it's course providers, universities, corporations, professional bodies, academic communities, and so on. So welcome, Ronak. I'm so happy to be in conversation with you today. I've been wanting you to do this for a very long time. Uh, and I think for me, the highlight of today's discussion is that you've done your CMA, right? Now, this whole conversation is structured or is planned for the CMA students in India. And who better than you to come and talk to them? Because I think, on one hand, of course, your work involves working with a host of professional bodies, which includes the IMA, that,
Yeah.
is a CMA qualification. And most importantly, you've done the qualification yourself. So I think you have a host of experiences to share with students, and I'm very excited to sort of share the platform with you, and let this conversation reach so many aspirants in India who are thinking of doing the USCMA. So I'd like to welcome you once again, Ronak.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Harsh, for having me. Really pleased to have this conversation with you as well.
Yes, thank you. So I think सबसे पहले तो मैं I'm going to ask you the first question that on your journey I know that whilst you were working you decided to pursue the USCMA, and I'm sure you've sort of experienced a lot of application of this qualification at your workplace.
Yes.
So
Yes.
why did you decide firstly to do your USCMA, and what's the journey been like?
So the reason why I thought of doing an international qualification, where did it come from? So I had my BCom done, and then I did one MBA
Hmm.
with from a regular B school because everybody was doing MBA at that point in time. So my father was like, "Okay, you should also do masters."
Okay.
And not everybody can get through CAT and get through the IIM. So what about the other folks? So you have to depend on any other B school which is there, and B schools had come up every nook and corner around the country.
Correct.
So because you don't have that research done and did not have that awareness, you just follow the crowd. So I also did that. Much later in my career, like about 12 years much later in my career, I realized that the career is stuck, it's not going ahead.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I don't have the right skill set, etc. So where am I missing out? Then I
Mm-hmm.
realized, I was going through my resume and I figured out that I don't have much weightage on the resume because the names that I have, these are not globally recognized. It's recognized from where I'm coming from. So in
Mm.
order to, get my resume shortlisted, I need to get a global qualification. So that's when
Correct.
I started exploring in the market. What are
Mm.
the qualifications that I can do that would help
Mm.
me in my current role?
Mm.
So somehow somebody suggested, why don't you try US CMA? It's again a global qualification from US. And we
Mhm.
Indians, we believe that, anything US, everybody knows that. So I
Right.
was also excited that, okay, let me try this out. And there were just two papers for which I got sold on.
Okay.
Uh, so that is how it actually started. And I began my journey for US CMA. I zeroed on US CMA. Yeah.
And what I really like about your journey is, so on one hand, of course, USCMMA, you are studying about looking at business from a decision making perspective, looking at business from a forecasting perspective, right? And आपने जो काम किया है, in your current role and in your roles, you've actually looked at business from a 360-degree perspective. So there's a lot of margin out there, right?
Yeah,
Can
absolutely.
you throw a little bit of light on what's like the key contents of the CMA qualification? Okay, broadly.
Okay.
But how do you think that helps you in your day-to-day work life?
So CMA is a very comprehensive course. You
Hmm.
know, Initially the perception is that it's just two papers, it's very easy,
Hmm.
and people get into that. But
Hmm.
once you start, you'll understand that it covers 12 core competencies. There are two parts, so it covers 12 core competencies in total. And
Hmm.
each core competency that you learn, it could be forecasting, budgeting, internal controls, ethics, then decision making, investment decisions, risk management, so on and so forth. All these competencies, these are equivalent to each paper. So when
Okay.
you are writing a professional exam, this is an a full paper that you are attempting in the examination.
Hmm.
In this, what happens is they have combined all of that in two parts. So when you are going and writing the examination, you
Hmm.
need not know from where the question is coming from. So
Correct.
from the very beginning, your mind is attuned to
Hmm.
expect anything. If I'm a
Hmm.
CFO, I'm going to the office, right?
Hmm.
The problem does not announce that, okay, I'm an audit problem, I'll come today. So you be prepared.
Hmm.
So it can happen that you get an audit problem, you get an ethical problem, you get an internal control problem. So one after the other, the CFO keeps getting bombarded with
Hmm.
these problems.
Hmm.
The same way the qualification prepares you in the same manner how you would be, seeing the real life scenario in business.
Hmm.
And that is something from the very beginning it teaches you. So when you actually hit the market and you get in the job, you're already prepared. It's something that you've batted in the ground in the net
Correct.
for hours and hours. So when the actual match happens and you're
Ah,
trying to hit the ball,
correct.
it's nothing new for you. So
Correct.
that way it really helped me to hit the ball from the park from the very first go.
Wonderful. And I think यही actually beauty होता है of global qualifications, that the way the curriculum and the exam is structured, it's a real life situation,
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
that real life. I think that experiential learning is what these qualifications teach you with, right? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Great. So, Ronak, that brings me to my next question. That if you look at a student who's in his, let's say, undergrad or just completing graduation, and जिसको CMA करना है, now how does he know that this is going to be the right course for him? One of the biggest problems students have is you're not able to understand what the qualification is really got. आपको पसंद आएगा कि नहीं, whether you'll be able to apply it or not. And definitely there's one thing that children sees, that okay, this gives me a lot of global mobility, or this qualification doesn't require a commitment of 3 years, 4 years, like a lot of other qualifications. So in that sense, it's more focused, it's quicker. But still, how does one decide one's interest area, whether this is going to be the right one for me or not?
See, US CMA qualification is for somebody who's wanting to get into strategic roles. If
Okay.
you aim at getting into strategic business decision roles in the organization, this is the right qualification. But that's the end goal. What you learn in this qualification is not, you will be learning everything actually. You will be touching base, you will be making aware of all of that. But as a CEO or a CFO, you need not go and do it, but you need to
Correct.
be aware of all these aspects which impacts the business.
Correct.
So your knowledge should always be, and you would always have that holistic view of the business and
Mm.
not all the nitty gritties groundwork that this is how the entry needs to be passed, etc. So when
Yeah.
you get into those strategic roles, if you have that mindset, USCMA is something that I would recommend.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if I tell you my role, it will help you to understand as well a lot better. I changed my industry to finance after 12 years in business development. That only happened because of USCMA. So I got through entity data as an associate director in finance. And people were saying that it was very difficult to get through. You have to again start from as a fresher and then start from the same fresher salary and then grow. I was determined, hell-bent, and I had full confidence in the qualification that it would help me to get through. And
Hmm.
FPNA is something that was most suitable for people who do USCMA. And
Okay.
somehow I was able to convince the interviewers and the CFO what skill set I would be bringing because of the qualification, and because this
Hmm.
was globally recognized, US based, they took that chance on me.
Hmm.
So my liking was getting into FP&A, getting in that strategic decision making roles. So at
Hmm.
NTT,
Hmm.
my analysis or the reports, the budgeting that we used to create, and the analysis I used to do, I was part of the blue white team of the CFO. So
Okay.
you do the variance analysis and you give
Hmm.
business insights to the CFO. Basis your analysis, the
Hmm.
CFO take business decisions.
Hmm.
It's just not manual work that you are copying,
Correct.
pasting, and just passing entries. Here, a lot of analytical skills that you need to apply and make sure that whatever data that you have put in, irrespective of the tools that I had all these AI tools available for me.
Hmm.
But the content that has come out, whether that makes sense or not, is something a human intervention is always required, and
Hmm.
CMA is very well suited for that. And basis my decision, the CFO used to take his decision, and where the business should be heading. So my
Hmm.
role was always very crucial, and CFO knew me by name. Not many CFOs
Correct.
know the big finance team that they have by their name. So you'll always be in the the blue eye team of the
Correct.
CFO.
And
Yeah.
that's why, there's this line, right, where they say it's CMA is one of those qualifications that teaches you the why behind the numbers and not
Yes,
what.
absolutely,
When you can
absolutely,
start reading in between the lines is when you start developing this sixth sense, of business. जो आप textbook
absolutely.
नहीं पढ़ सकते. It's very experiential. And once
Yes,
you get the sixth sense of business, what you bring to table, nobody can bring, because that's what you're bringing to table, right?
absolutely.
That inculcates your ability to forecast, that inculcates your ability to look at so many things which rules of the book don't teach you.
Yes.
And I think that is what costing, performance management, that is what these subjects are all about, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. So, Ronak, for somebody who's done CMA fresh out of college, what should the journey start like? What kind of roles can he or she look like as a starter? And then
Okay.
eventually, where can it get to?
See, somebody who's CMA qualified, they have done the exams, but they
Oh,
have not got the 2 years of work experience that is also required for them in
correct,
order to become a member. So
correct.
first and foremost, there are plenty of opportunities that you can get into. Could be
Mm,
you can join as a financial analyst,
mm,
a business analyst. Then you can get into advisory services of the big four or the big seven that are there, where you
mm,
will be more suitable. The skill set that you are bringing is more suitable to those roles.
mhm,
Then, as you move forward, you can also become a cost accountant. You can get into a manufacturing company where
mm,
the costing is very integral part of the organization world in manufacturing companies, because
mm,
for the products. So you
mm,
can get into that cost accountant role. Then
mm,
as you move forward, you can become senior manager, VP finance, and you have very high chances that after CFO you can also become a CEO,
mm.
because you get a 360-degree view of the entire business, and
Yeah.
you get it to make those strategic decisions for the organization.
Mm,
So CEO is something that also
mm,
you can
mm,
aspire to be with
mm.
this qualification.
And I'll just add one thing. Suppose for somebody who doesn't want to get into a job, let's say you've got a family man,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
or you want to do a startup, right? So you develop a lot of business acumen which you can go back and apply, and you can start looking at your traditional family managed business from a different lens altogether. So
Yes.
if there is
Yes.
an audience that doesn't want to get into jobs, that is also looking at business also, this is a qualification that is very, very
Yeah.
helpful, right? Very
Absolutely.
interesting. One more thing, Ronak, I keep a lot of students keep asking, and especially when you talk about global qualifications, is there acceptability in India? Is there validity in India? And I want to tell students and professionals that look, CMA US is not regulatory. It's not about taxes, laws, and compliances, right? It's more to do with reading numbers, taking decisions, right? Measuring performances. And that's a skill which is global. It doesn't matter whether you're looking at a business in India or whether you're looking at a business in
Absolutely.
the US, right?
Yes. Yes.
If you talk about global employability, look, I mean, you have the whole unit of GCCs, Global Capability Centers, being established in India, right? So there is so much and more need for global talent. So, back in the day, ऐसा होता था that you have, if you did a US or a UK qualification, you had to take a flight and go abroad and work. But today, those companies are at your doorstep, right? So I think there is more than enough and more validity in India that students need to know of. Very interesting. So, I have just last two quick questions.
Okay.
So if I have to ask you like top three skills that the US CMA qualification will prepare you for, what would they be?
Top three skills would be that you understand the business better.
Mm-hmm.
You can advise on business strategies,
Mm-hmm.
and then you would become a business partner. You would not be seen somebody as just an employee, but you are part of the company growth strategy, and
Mm-hmm.
all the insights and research and analysis that you do, that
Mm-hmm.
is very valuable to the organization.
Right.
So this is one qualification I strongly suggest that all of the students should be doing it if they aspire to grow, and the growth trajectory that they have is to become a CFO or a CEO. This is
Mm-hmm.
something that I would strongly recommend for them.
Wonderful. And one last question before we conclude.
Okay.
One of students come back and say that, okay, with our graduation, we'll do our USCMA, we'll spend 1.5 years doing it. But if there is a need or if there is a want to study beyond that, what would you advise?
See, USCMA prepares you for understanding the entire business. My
Hmm.
personal recommendation would be that you do CMA, and
Mm-hmm.
then couple of years you work.
Look. Hmm.
You use, because in order to become a member as well, 2 years of work
Yeah.
you need required for USCMA. So you
Right.
do that, you work and have a full qualification, a complete qualification. Now, what happens is a lot of students I have seen, I've spoken to, they say that, sir, I did so and so qualification, but my interest does not lie in audit. I
Hmm.
want to get into taxation. So
Hmm.
there are specific qualification for specific interests that you have.
Hmm.
There is CIA, there is CMA, there is CPA, there is enrolled agent, so on and
Hmm.
so forth. So
Hmm.
after 2 3 years in the business, once you start working, that is when you realize probably I'm enjoying this or not.
Hmm.
And this is what Brian Hock, who's the president and the CEO of Hock International, he also says that after you do a qualification, you have spent a lot of time and money.
Hmm.
Please go and work. You
Hmm.
know, you get the real experience, because
Hmm.
when you are studying, you don't know what you like. You
Correct. Don't
just
do that
hear.
just to just attract, get degrees your way. Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So
Yeah.
after a certain time, you realize that, okay, this is what, if you are getting into internal audit, you realize that, okay, CI is something that would align to what I am doing right now. So
Yeah.
CI is the qualification that you look forward to. So my suggestion is, do this, work for a couple of years, see whether your interest is there into get into FP&A or something else, and then do the qualification which has expertise in that particular area.
And then, as you says, there are a host of certifications. आप ESG पढ़ सकते हो, data
Yes,
analytics पढ़
yes,
सकते हो. There are so many things that you can do, but do that after a
absolutely.
while. Great.
Yes.
I think all your inputs have been so valuable. I
Okay.
think this is the experience which I want to take to a lot of CMA aspirants in India. They need to know. I think there are so many myths that people have, valid in India or not, acceptability in India or not. Is CMA to do with accounting? So is it taxes and compliances? What roles are available? I think you've cleared out a lot of
Thank you.
areas. So thank you very much. I hope
Thank
that
you.
this conversation is going to inspire a lot of students on the way. And if there are students and aspirants and they have more questions, I'd encourage them to please post. We'll come back with more questions. We'll come back with another podcast, and we'll continue to do great work. So thank you, Ronak, today for spending time with me on this.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Harsh, and all the best to all the students out there. Thank you.
Thank you.